Hi first graders, it's Heron from the Westport River Watershed Alliance, and we are very excited to start off your lessons for this school year. We're going to be learning about a very special kind of wetland called a vernal pool. If you want to go ahead and say that with me so that we can learn this new phrase, it's called a vernal pool. And we happen to be standing right next to a vernal pool. A vernal pool acts kind of like a really big puddle. So when it's rainy and cold, the puddle fills up with water. When it's hot outside and dry, it dries out. Just like you can see today, it's pretty dry. So the vernal pool changes along with the different seasons that we all go through throughout the year. And this time of year, it's fall. And in the fall, the vernal pools are usually dry and they don't have very much water. So you might not actually even know it's a wetland because you can't see any water under your feet this time of year. As the seasons move on and it starts to get colder and it rains, the water starts to fill up in the vernal pool. So the cooler it is, the less the water evaporates or dries out of the vernal pool. So in the end of fall and the winter time, the vernal pool starts to fill up and you'll see lots of water right where I'm standing. And then as we get into the spring, and actually vernal is another word for spring, so these pools are named after that season because it's when they're the biggest. That's when we get a whole bunch of rain, so then the vernal pool really fills up to the top and you'd actually have water all the way around the edge of the vernal pool. And then as summer comes around, it gets hotter again and some of the water dries out of the vernal pool and it starts to shrink and get smaller and smaller, and eventually all of the water is dried out of the vernal pool. So vernal pools are so important to learn about and actually also to protect because there are really cool creatures that only use vernal pools as part of their life cycle. So there are salamanders and frogs and even insects that come here in the springtime to lay their eggs, and the babies start to grow and develop inside the pool, and then they actually leave before it dries up. If we didn't have vernal pools, then all of those creatures wouldn't also not be here. So we're going to take a close-up look at the bottom of the vernal pool where there are some leaves that are breaking down or decomposing. We'll flip some rocks over and see if we can find any creatures still hanging out in the vernal pool, and check out maybe some of the mushrooms or other things that are around the outside. All right, we're going to start with lifting rocks to see what we can find underneath. And under this rock, we did find a slug. So they like it to be pretty moist, so it's hiding under there. We found a spider with an egg case. So it's going to carry that around until all of the eggs hatch. When we flip this tree branch over, we can find some slime mold on the other side. And slime mold actually moves, so overnight it might be here on the branch and then it can move to another place. So we did find this really cool rock which is made mostly of quartz crystal, which is this white that you can see right on the outside of the rock. So it looks kind of just like a really big crystal. And sometimes, depending what's kind of melting or running down the rock, it changes its color a little bit. So it's got some orange parts on this side over here. In the bottom of the pool, there are a lot of decaying and dying leaves that are breaking down and making really nice soil in the vernal pool. So if we scrape those away, we can see it's kind of still a a little wet in the bottom of the pool. And this set of leaves that are breaking down end up being part of the food that some of the insects and other creatures that use the vernal pool in the springtime, they use that breaking down leaves as part of their food. So we did find some different kinds of mushrooms that are sprouting up from the bottom of the vernal pool. These are these little brown ones. Here's another one that's a little bit bigger, and it's flopped over so you can see where the spores of the mushroom come out from underneath, where it has little gills. So for your studies on the vernal pools this year, you're going to be doing a scientific sketch of what the vernal pool looks like throughout the different seasons. So we'll give you this paper right here or your data sheet, and you'll see that it has 4 different sections on the data sheet. And you are going to find the first one that starts with an F for fall. You're going to do a sketch of what the vernal pool looks like in this season right in that box. There's also a little circle to show you where the outside of the vernal pool would be, even though right now it doesn't have water. So you would draw in that circle the things that you see in the bottom of the vernal pool, and this time of year it would be mostly leaves that are breaking down, some rocks, maybe some branches, but there won't be any water in the vernal pool for this season. Once you finish doing inside the little circle, you can do some drawing on the outside to show what the trees look like during the different seasons. So this time of year, the trees still have leaves. You can make their big bark stems that are going up, and then make sure to give them some nice green leaves. Then when we come back next time, we'll be able to compare and make some predictions what we think will be different in the vernal pool for the next season. So when you get your paper, make sure to do your first sketch in this box right here, just like this student did. Thank you for joining us on our first visit to the vernal pool in the fall, which is the season that we're in right now. We'll come back throughout the rest of the seasons and see what kinds of changes have happened to the vernal pool throughout the different seasons. Make sure to take some time and think and make some predictions on what you think will change as the seasons change in the vernal pool.